The Red Bull Rant is an uncensored and unedited podcast. The views expressed in the show are personal and do not reflect the views of others or any affiliated organizations.
This is Dave Martinez, and you're listening to the Red Bull Rant. Haha.
Welcome to the Red Bull Rant. I'm Jason Ipico.
And I'm Truman Howell III, and this is episode 50.
Now for something completely different.
Yes. Indeed.
Yes, indeed. So, welcome to the classier version of the Red Bull Rant. I hope everybody will enjoy this.
Fancy. Yes.
So, our classy edition starts after New York hosts the unfortunate DC Scum on this previous Saturday.
Dreadful team. Dreadful.
Unfortunate 0-0 draw where New York somehow just could not score. Nobody knows why.
They just couldn't finish, as we like to say. Yes, couldn't finish their chances. It's a shame. A shame.
Yes, a very big shame indeed. So let's get into what we disliked about this match.
I like to call this segment what we thought was rubbish. Rubbish. And I'll tell you what I thought was rubbish. Mr. Thierry Henry, right at the end of the game, just coincidentally getting hurt, coincidentally limping off the field and then vanishing into the darkness. Strange that he doesn't like playing on turf. And he's gone out of the game. Just, I don't find that very coincidental, do you?
No, I don't find it very coincidental at all, good sir.
How about you? What did you find rubbish?
What I found rubbish was the match official, Mr. Mark Geiger, who, yes, he did not have a very bully day out there on Saturday.
No, not bully indeed, no.
Very sad to say. It was very unfortunate for him to favor the Scum. I don't really know why he would like the Scum. Scum is not very good for anybody. But he favored them very much, gave New York 3 cautions on the day, while he did not give DC 1.
Awful.
And yet DC, yes, very awful indeed, yet DC was more than happy to, in common terms, bear hug New York players, not really trying very hard. It just baffles the mind how Mark Geiger can have that kind of a day.
Raising their elbows up and trying to hit our men upside the face. It's disturbing. It's perturbing even. It's just, terrible. And I noticed that Mr. Michael Pecky had some words after the game too. Words that he didn't want to incur a fine, but he definitely spoke his mind about the refereeing.
Yes, it was very nice that Mr. Pecky was able to coalesce his thoughts for all of us. It was such a privilege hearing about what he thought of that game.
Yes, the man is always, if not anything, honest. Yes, honest.
Indeed. Alright, so now to move away from the rubbish parts of the match, let's move on to the parts that we were very enamored with, shall we say?
Yes, I like to say this is the things we considered smashing. Smashing. And let me tell you what I thought was smashing. That defensive line. Those monsters in the middle, Olavi and Holgerson. You couldn't get through them. You couldn't get a shot. They were impenetrable. I would say, impenetrable. I think there's a positive thing of things to come. When you can't score against a team, you're not going to win. Yes.
Yes, indeed. It was very nice seeing that back line do the job that Mike Pecky wanted of them. Something that we had not seen in the previous two matches, especially late on when I'm pretty sure we all thought that the game was going to go to rubbish, like we had said earlier, and DC was going to somehow find a counterattack goal out of nowhere.
Coincidental that a certain Roy Miller was nowhere to be found and the defense played so well.
Yes, that was what I was enamored with, was Mr. Michael Pecky sending Mr. Roy Miller off to his international duty a little bit early, letting him get away from the team.
Duty, what a great word to use for Roy Miller. Duty. Oh, excuse me, I'm having a chuckle. Duty. Oh, yes. Yes.
That wasn't very classy of you, Mr. Truman, but I will let that slide.
I'm sorry, I apologize to our listeners for not being classy as I promised I would be.
So, I was very enamored with Mr. Pecky's managerial skills this week in removing the nuisance that is Mr. Roy Miller and not allowing him anywhere near the field this week. And I believe that if he was near the field this week, that there would have been a very unpleasant situation with the South Ward, and not a violent situation, but a situation nonetheless with a lot of foul language thrown Mr. Miller's way.
Oh, the rowdies would have been rowdying him up, for sure.
Indeed.
But I will say this. Mr. Pecky's in-game managerial skills were outstanding. He made good subs, tactical perfection. They just couldn't get that finishing touch. They were so close. But I think they looked good even though they didn't score. I think this is a positive sign. Yes, I do.
Yes, a very positive sign indeed. I believe there was a total of 24 chances on goal.
Yes, I think you're right.
To I believe 7 total for DC. Something that inequity was not there in the first 2 weeks like we expected to be. But it was there this week.
If you look at the previous 2 games, it was helter-skelter in the second half in both of those games. We just knew something bad was going to happen. Not so much this game. Very solid in the back. Solid.
I dare say that New York had the luck of the Irish on their side in terms of their defense this week.
I would have to agree with that. Yes, I would.
Alright, so for the predictions that we had made before this match, all of us had predicted a win, and unfortunately we were all wrong. Yes, it was not a bully day for any of us. So our prediction standings remain unchanged after the second week. Mr. Zach Wasink is at the top of the leaderboard with 4 points. I am following up in a very classy second place with 3 points. Mr. Patrick McDonald, who unfortunately could not be with us this evening. Mr. Truman, Mr. Craig, and Mr. Pete, all tied with 2 points. And our newest writer, Mr. Kevin Dalton, did not submit scores because he was not a writer before that game, so he is at 0 points at the moment.
Oh, but he'll just go bullying on to the next weekend.
Bully!
Yeah.
Bully!
Yes, bully.
So before we bring our guest on, the evanescent Mr. Dan Dickinson, let's talk about our fantasy league. Our top 3...
Dreadful.
Yes, dreadful. our top three at the moment. In first place, Team Nil Nil with 217 points. In second, FC Ironbound with 201 points. And in third, Mazal Bugdev United with 195 points. However, you and I did not do very well. You, Mr. Truman, dropped down to 14th place, currently with 142 points.
Zounds!
Meanwhile, I managed to leapfrog you into 13th place with only a scant 144 points.
You know, maybe I should pay attention that Jay Demerit was not playing. Whoopsie. I will not make an error like that again. No, I won't.
No, you shall not. Alright, so at this time, we are calling Mr. Dan Dickinson our guest for this week.
Daniel, pick up the phone.
Gentlemen.
Oh, that he is, Dan. Daniel Dickinson, how are you, my good man?
I'm quite well. You know, I had no idea when I agreed to do this that I was going to be on the most hoity-toity podcast in the soccer landscape.
We prefer fancy.
Fancy. Certainly better than that morning zoo thing they're doing over on that Seeing Rouge podcast.
Yes. Well, I would tell you a story as I was perusing our website yesterday. A person left a rather boorish comment, and I took offense to it, and I feel we had to kind of change the aspect of the show, and I think this is the way we'll be going from here on out. Yes.
I look forward to you gentlemen having a spot on NPR soon.
Yes. NPR, yes.
Alright, well, Mr. Dickinson, let's get into our questions for the evening. The first one. What are your feelings on the Twitter account, Not Gothamist Dan, that is parodying your account?
Yes. I'm a little flattered. I thought I had done pretty well for myself in about a year of doing this press thing, but now my ego has just overinflated and is suffocating me as we speak. I think somebody made it out of spite because I made a comment that a soccer-based parody account had gone out of style this year. And suddenly this one pops up, which was kind of amusing. I will say, I'm a little disappointed. Went quiet pretty quickly. And to be honest, I know there's plenty to parody about the way that I cover the team, and it's kind of lacking in the parody nature of it. I will say that if whoever's running it wants to fess up and tell me who it is, I will happily buy them a beer before the Philly game next weekend. It did give me a good laugh when I saw that pop up.
I'm still waiting for a not Maeve Dartinez account to appear, but no such luck so far.
I'm sure it's only a matter of hours at this point.
Yes. Now let's speak of the game against the Scum. 0-0 home draw in the opening game. Would you consider it more of a positive sign of things to come, or an omen of impending doom?
I generally will take that game, in addition to the two before it, as a good omen. If you can detach yourself from the emotion of the result and the emotion of watching Roy Miller do whatever it is that he did in San Jose, and look at the performances. We had a solid 45 minutes in Portland, a even more solid 80 minutes in San Jose, and pretty much complete control of the game over DC. So that's 3 games of progression and 3 games where we at least had a solid half of dominating. It wasn't like the team came out flat for a full 90. So I think there's a lot to be happy about with the results. Would more points be nice? Absolutely. You don't want to fall too far down the table early, but I certainly don't think it's reason to panic at this point.
Was there any doubt in your mind that Mr. Thierry Henry would incur some sort of injury that would cause him to miss Saturday's match at Montreal?
The injury specifically, I'm I'm a little surprised that he did manage to get injured in the 88th or 89th minute, whatever it was.
Yes.
Coach Petke did, in fact, say on a media call on Tuesday that even if he hadn't been injured, there was a reasonable chance he wasn't going to play Thierry. So, I've seen all the conspiracy theories from others in the media about, oh, well, this was, very convenient. And honestly, it doesn't sound like the team would have had a problem sitting him because of the turf. So they don't really need to fake an injury to keep him out of that game. So, I'm willing to bet it's a legitimate injury.
So speaking of Mr. Henry, yes, apparently he decided that he did not need to stick around to talk to the local media covering this game. What are your thoughts on the fact that the captain and probably the biggest name on this team decided that his time was not worth being there?
Well, if we go back to that injury, if I had just sprained my MCL after setting a team record for shots in a game, and had a disappointing performance overall, but mostly because of the injury, I'd probably get the hell out of there too. Injured players typically do not stick around for interviews after the game. That's a general thing I've observed over the last year. As for Thierry and Saturday specifically, I'm torn, because my preference, obviously, I want to have an interview with him after every game. He's a tremendous interview. He's got this great dry sense of humor, and he's always shockingly objective about the game. I remember after the Toronto game last year where he had the 3 assists and that chipped goal at the end, his first comment was, I can't stop thinking how we gave up that early goal. After the Montreal game earlier in the year where he got his hat trick, he said, I didn't even expect to score one today. And, he will always acknowledge when the team struggles and do it very honestly. And he also gives a lot of credit where it's due. Dave Martinez will tell you up and down about the I Love Connor 10-minute love fest for Connor Wade after one of the games last year. And relatedly, I'm really glad that not having a go sort of became a thing last week, because Thierry has plenty of catchphrases just like Hans did, and you get used to them, and I suppose that's why the Seeing Red guys love to impersonate him. But that all said, I'm kind of used to him dodging the press by now. He did it a couple of times last year, particularly when he was out injured. Coming right back from the injury, there was that Chivas game last year where he did the same thing, and when Michael Lewis called him out last year the same way he did this past weekend, there were certain message boards that went completely apoplectic, saying that the press was acting entitled, and you don't have the right to talk to Henry. Why should he even talk to you? So I found it weird that it was a little different this year. When it comes down to everything, I find it funny with Henry, because I met him a couple of times before I started doing the press thing, just at fan events. He's the sweetest guy to the fans. I don't know if you guys have met him, but at fan events he'll sign anything. He'll get pictures with people. He loves the fans, but I don't think he particularly likes talking to the media, especially about what he just did for 90 minutes. He wants his play to be the statement. He doesn't want to answer an easy question about, what happened on that shot? What happened on that goal? What were you thinking? One of his other great catchphrases, which you don't hear too much, is, "Did you see the game?" And he'll throw that at somebody who asks him an obvious question. And I think that speaks so much to his mindset. You just saw 90 minutes of me playing on the field. What else is there to say? I will say this as a counterpoint to the Henry thing, and this is just my personal view on how the press runs at Red Bull Arena. One trend and sort of a bias that you end up with is, as a reporter, you like the guys in the locker room who will talk. And Dax gets a lot of love from the media because he's a great and easy interview. The guy won't shut up half the time. You ask him a simple question, you get an answer back. And Tim Cahill actually works on the same principle. And one of the most amazing things after the DC game is, Tim comes out of the team lounge to do his interviews, and he did 4 minutes of an interview with his suitcase on the floor in front of him, and he apologized before we started because he had to go to the airport literally the second he finished the interview, because he had to fly to Australia to deal with the Socceroos for their World Cup qualifiers. So, that speaks volumes to me that, if Thierry doesn't want to talk, fine. There are other people in the locker room who are happy to talk, and really, Henry dodging doesn't bother me as much as it probably bothers other people, but that's me.
You have to like such a gentlemanly locker room of players. Yes.
Yes.
Now, we mentioned Connor Lade briefly. How do you like his position as that substitute coming off the bench with speed as like a wing midfielder?
I was going to say his position on the bench. Has he played much else this season?
Just a teeny bit. But how do you like him as that substitute, bringing speed as when the other team's getting a little wear down, bringing the little man?
I think Connor brings something that's definitely needed, but to that end, I would rather see him in the midfield rather than playing on the fullback position, because my experience, my memory of watching Connor all the way on the back four generally reminds me of the first DC game away last year, where he just got abused by Dero and De Leon and Pontius and everybody. So I think that speed in midfield is important. I think we do need some more players that can pull teams apart and drive the attack. But I'm also, I really liked what I saw of Steele and Alexander on the wings last weekend, and hopefully they can continue with that.
Barring injury, do you see any reason to change that defensive line?
None whatsoever. I think that was a solid four, and I think that Hecky got what he was looking for as a reaction out of young Marcus Holgersson. I think Holgersson and Olave pair up very well. I think Barklage is very hungry. I won't be surprised if Kamara keeps battling with him for that starting spot. But I would be very happy if Heath Pierce had left back locked up for the rest of the season.
Oh, excuse me about that. I had.
No, it's okay.
Yes, I'm sorry. My throat decided to close up temporarily. It was a little too excited about the idea of Pierce staying at left back for the rest of the season.
I think you were having an allergic reaction when you thought about him might alternately be at left back.
Yes, that's a very good possibility. So speaking of the upcoming Montreal match, please, sir, give us your prediction and your general thoughts on the match.
I'm trying desperately to avoid a Montreal's making an impact joke. I know. They have started very well, but I was looking at the table a day or two ago and realized that they've beaten Portland, Seattle, and Toronto, and those are not teams that have come out very strongly to start the year. Then again, neither has New York, but it may be a scheduling quirk that they've gone 3-0 to start. I haven't had a ton of chance to watch them this year. I caught a little bit of the Seattle game. Their attack does look frightening. They've had 5 different players that have scored a goal, so they're not relying on any one player. They will be missing Nesta at the back, which will more than anything else hurt my fantasy chances this week. But so be it. And I noticed that Marco Di Vaio has an astounding stat. He has 10 shots so far in the season, and 8 of them have been on frame. So an 80% on target rate is a little unreal and makes me worried for our young Luis Robles. But that said, the team looked very good this weekend, and as I said earlier, they've been building nicely over the last 3 games. So I do believe the team can do it. I think that a lot of the guys will step up in Henry and Cahill's absence. And I'm willing to say New York will win 2-1 and snap Montreal's streak. Bully indeed. And remember that last year when Thierry got his knee injury or ACL injury, whatever it was, this team stepped up and won 5 in a row, including a game at Stade Olympique. So, if the team can respond in the same way to losing the captain, I think they'll do all right.
Mr. Dickinson,
I was going to say I agree with you. I think it's Montreal's ripe for an upset.
We can hope.
Mr. Dickinson, would you be so kind as to allow us to open up our phone lines for our listeners and to join us in taking some phone calls?
Absolutely.
Okay, so at that, we will open up our phone lines. Our phone number is 973-679-4541. Or if you are using Skype, our username is Rant. So our phone lines are now open for you to call us and give us your opinions. While we are waiting for a listener to call in, let's shift the topics a little bit and talk about the United States men's team and their upcoming qualifiers. And actually, we have our first caller ready, so let's answer that. Hello, 732. Welcome to the Rant.
Hey guys, I was listening to your podcast every week, and I just thought it could use a dose, a little bit of positivity. You know what I'm saying? Guys, come on, guys, alright.
Oh, Tim Hall, make me laugh.
Tim Hall, you are the living end.
Positivity. Come on, guys, who's with me? Hands in, guys. Come on, You know what I'm talking about. Hey, Dan, you're doing a great job. on the Eyes the Guest this week. And Truman and whoever the fuck the two other you. Oh, by the way, fuck.
Oh my.
Fuckity, fuck. Take that, you stupid listener that decided to unfollow the podcast because I said fuck too many times. Fuckity, fuck. Go fuck your mother.
Oh dear. This show has just been humbled.
I fear Donnie Gerber will not approve.
And the show has reached a new low.
Mr. Hall, any questions for Mr. Dickinson? Huh? No, he's gone. He's gone, damn him. That rapscallion. Anyway, let's move on. Back to what we were talking about.
Yes, so before we shift topics, if you want to call in like Mr. Hall, phone number is 973-679-4541. Shifting topics to the United States men's team, they have a World Cup qualifying match tomorrow night in Denver, Colorado, against the Costa Rican national team. We had a special episode on Tuesday, so I will not go into my thoughts. But Mr. Dickinson, would you like to give your thoughts on the match tomorrow night?
I mean, most of my thoughts roll back to the Brian Strauss-Palooza of this week, since I think that sort of dominated the conversation. I think it's too early for anybody to hit the panic button. I think should the team lose or do poorly tomorrow night, it's not the end of Klinsmann's job. And I also think that if they do win or happen to blow out Costa Rica, it doesn't necessarily fix any of the things that have come to light from the anonymous sources this week. As I believe I said somewhere online recently, the real issue is that there are some obvious cracks in this team, and those need to get resolved off the field because this is possibly the worst time to have it happen and affect things on the field. So, I think Klinsmann is a little hamstrung with the injuries that he's facing, and Landon Donovan wandering the world to find himself, as it were. So, not going to put a prediction in. I remember going to Legends for the Honduras game and being mildly disappointed with how flat the team looked in the second half, and I hope we won't see that again.
How big of an advantage playing in Denver will give the U.S. team?
I've been told it's sold out, and the American Outlaws have 4 full sections, so certainly I think U.S. Soccer's done a decent job of ensuring the home field advantage, as opposed to some of the other U.S. games we've seen as of late, like the Gold Cup final in 2011, and even that friendly at Red Bull Arena where we were largely outmanned by Ecuador in the stands. I think it was Ecuador. So I think it'll be a decent home field advantage, but how much does that really play into this team doing well at this point if it's not first choice players up and down the starting 11?
Do you think the thin air will give the team any advantage?
No, I don't think many of those players are used to playing at such an atmosphere. I did find it interesting. I believe Mexico Stadium is similarly elevated, or so I had read. So having those 2 games back-to-back may not be a bad thing. But I don't think it will give them a tremendous advantage over Costa Rica in that it's not like the U.S. team is particularly used to playing at Mile High or Dick's Sporting Good or whatever it's called now.
I just say we borrow the Denver Nuggets. They've won 13 games in a row and have them play.
You are the living end.
Yes. Yes.
Alright, we have another caller, so let's get him in this conversation. 908, welcome to the Rant.
Hello!
Hello.
Sir, quick question. How do you feel about that New York sign they did over this weekend? That Kagoo kid and the other one. Was it worth it? Was it depth? What do you guys think?
Yeah, I believe you are referring to Mr. Peggy.
Yes, sir.
I have not seen much of Peggy. I don't get to go to practices, and he didn't feature too much in preseason. But if he still has anything left in the tank based on hearing that the price was right, I'm sure he will be a decent depth pickup. And Obakop and Rafinha are pretty young guys. They're certainly not seasoned veterans that will be joining the team, so I think as depth additions they are probably okay pickups. Certainly would like to see them on the field before passing judgment, but somebody reflected the other day that how are we signing all these players and we didn't have enough money to keep Kenny Cooper, and the answer is if we hadn't let Kenny Cooper go, we wouldn't be getting this additional depth at this point, and the team would be relatively stuck with all of these injuries starting to pump up.
True, my sir. True indeed. Do we still have money for the summer EP? What do you think about that?
It sounds like they do. Every conversation has remained that they will be looking to add a DP in the summer, but they want to make sure it's the right name and fills whatever hole they most need at that point. So, I'm sure the DP speculation will begin any minute now, and we'll see who crops up over the summer.
Luke Rogers is a free agent.
Clearly should be signed to a DP contract.
How about Kaká? Are we still talking about him, or he should just be done over with?
I think there are still conversations about him. I think the interesting thing will be to see if the Lampard thing falls through for LA, whether or not both teams are going to duke it out for the rights to Kaká. Because I wouldn't say that Lampard is a sure bet, given that he has been on the scoring tear lately, and Chelsea may have a hard time not bringing him back for another year. But we'll see. I would expect he'll still be in the mix, but last year everybody said that we were going to be signing Kaká over the summer as well, and then Tim Cahill fell into our laps. Who knows?
True indeed. Well, fuck Philly and fuck DC.
Thank you. Bully. Now that's a fancy call.
Yes, indeed, very fancy.
No, Kaka. Is he even needed on this team, honestly? I mean, where would he even fit in?
That's a very good question. But that then leads you to, where would any new DP fill in? And would it then logically be a defender, somebody who should fill the role that Rafa Marquez was supposed to fill? A quality defender that can play, maybe center back, fullback? And do you want to spend a DP slot on a defender?
I think a speedy winger would be the perfect solution, but who, I just don't know.
It baffles the mind.
It does.
Alright, Mr. Dickinson, I believe that was all the questions we had for you today. Before you leave us, would you like to make one last, provide us with your final thought?
Don't panic. We're only 3 weeks into the season.
Agreed.
Mr. Dan Dickinson, Gothamist.com at Gothamist.Don. Thank you very much for coming on the show today.
It's been a pleasure.
Thank you for having me. You gentlemen are literally the tops.
Thank you. And a bully to you, sir.
Good day.
Bully!
So, once again, I want to thank Mr. Dickinson for coming on the show tonight. Now it is turn...
No, I was just going to say what a fine gentleman he was, calling in and conversing with us.
Yes, he's a true gentleman and a scholar, and it was my privilege to be able to meet him this past Saturday at the DC match.
Yes, I believe there's a picture of that on our Twitter page.
Yes, there is a picture of myself, Mr. Dickinson, and the evanescent Dave Martinez. So now, turning our thoughts to the upcoming weekend away match at Montreal. The match will be Saturday afternoon, my mistake, 4:30 Eastern Time. It will be broadcast on the Madison Square Garden Network.
Fancy.
So, before we give our thoughts, our colleague, Mr. Patrick McDonald, was generous enough to call in before his flight left for Denver, and here are his thoughts about the Montreal match.
Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Pat McDonald. Unfortunately, I can't be on the show tonight. Wish I could, but I am currently sitting at JFK Airport tonight, about to head out to Denver to the World Cup qualifier against Costa Rica. I'm really looking forward to it. That being said, the Red Bulls have a game on Saturday night, or Saturday afternoon for that matter, against the Montreal Impact. While I do think we're making progress under Mike Tyke, the team is starting to get better, starting to do better. I don't see the Red Bulls getting their first win on the road in Montreal this week. So unfortunately, I am predicting a 1-0 loss for the Red Bulls. I think their first win for the season will come when they come back home against Philadelphia. Let's not forget the season is young. We will do better, and I predict that Tyke will get this team turned around in no time. But, for that, have a good night, everybody, and I will see you from Denver. Look for my Twitter account for pictures. Alright, have a good night, everybody.
I must say, what's a lout with that language? Not gentlemanly at all.
No, very plebeian
It's a good
conversation there.
Speaking, a brute.
But you can follow Mr. McDonald's Twitter handle on Saturday at PMacD82.
Etude. What is that? Is IQ?
Bully!
Oh dear. Oh dear.
Oh, sir, you do crack me up with your wit.
Oh my. Now, that being said from Mr. Patrick, I'm going to agree with Mr. Dickinson. I think Montreal's ripe for an upset. You know, they've been kicking around these Portland Timbers, a team we should have beaten. The Seattle Sounders can score with an ugly girl. And Toronto, let's face, a bunch of silly nannies. This team, even without Cahill, without Henry, I think they're going to spread the ball out a little bit more. Everyone's going to share. Not everyone's going to have to cross the ball directly in Thierry Henry's lap. I think they're going to win. And I don't think Montreal's going to score. And I think those little Frenchy boys are going to go home crying. So I am going to say New York Red Bulls 2, Impact 0. Yes.
A bold prediction, good sir. Before I give my prediction, I would like to give the predictions of our other staff members. Mr. Zach Wasink says it will be 2-0 to the Socialists. Mr. Pete York agrees about the win, but he believes it to be a 1-0 victory for our boys in blue. Mr. Kevin Doughton, our newest member of the staff, believes it's going to be a 3-1 win for the French Canucks. Whatever a Canuck is. And unfortunately, Mr. Craig Taylor has not provided me his input yet, so I cannot provide that to you.
Yes, well, he's been so busy, he's actually flying back home to jolly old England. Yes.
Yes.
Our man overseas will truly return to being our man overseas.
Indeed. Now, for my prediction of the match against Montreal. First, I find it to be a little disappointing that we will not have the only French player in French Canada. It disappoints me a little bit, but I understand the injury and the ungodly turf at Olympic Stadium. Yes, it haunts my nightmares. However, like last year when Mr. Henry was not available for a stretch of games in the early part of the season, I believe the rest of the team will step up and provide the offensive thrust that this team needs. And unlike the match against the unfortunate Scum, they will be able to put the ball into the back of the net. I, however, do not, and not as bold as you, Mr. Truman, I do not think, and I've been corrected that our newest player, the guy, is actually French, so I am mistaken. We will have a French player in Montreal.
We're bully for key guy.
Yes, bully. So my prediction is not going to be as bold as yours, Mr. Truman. You predicted 2-0. I will predict that New York will score 2 goals, but we will not be able to shut out, as they say in the common language of the day, the Impact, and we will give up only 1 goal, however, to secure a 2-1 victory.
Bully! Bully for the Red Bulls! Bully!
So, it looks like we have no more callers at this time. So I believe that this would be...
Louts anyway. Louts, all of them. Louts and brutes. Brutes and louts.
So I believe that this is time for us to, as I say, wrap up the show. If you agree, Mr. Truman.
bid them adieu, as they might say up there in Montreal.
Yes. Before we bid you adieu, you can visit our website at redbullrant.wordpress.com. You can send us classy emails at redbullrant@gmail.com.
Please keep them classy.
Yes, very, very classy. You can also call us and leave us a classy voicemail at 973-348-5329. On Skype, our username is redbullrunt, which is all one word. On Facebook, facebook.com/redbullrent. We are also on Google Plus and storify.com. The Twitter handles for the show is at redbullrunt. Mine is at Dr. Stooge. A lowly Twitter name, I know, but
Yeah, very.
I am hopefully still a classy guy. Mr. Patrick McDonald, who unfortunately could not be with us tonight, his Twitter handle, as I mentioned earlier, is at PMacD82. And Mr. Truman's is at The Truman.
The one and only Truman. Yes, the one and only. Except no.
Yes, there is no at not The Truman.
That's right.
Nor is there any other parody accounts for ours, because we are just that classy to not have a parody account. No, it would not be very classy of people to do that to us.
No.
You can subscribe to our show, our wonderful classy show, on iTunes or Stitcher Radio. Before we end the show, Mr. Truman, do you have any last thoughts for our listeners?
Just two things. One, victory! And two, we'll be back to the usual bullshit next week. But until then, bully!
Bully indeed! For all of us here at the Red Bull Rant, this was episode number 50. That's 50. Thank you for tuning in, and as always, go Red Bulls.
Salutations!